Welcome to Belmead, and right now we're standing in front of the Journey to Jubilee cabin. I highly encourage all of you to take the Journey to Jubilee tour right here in Belmead, which is in Nashville, Tennessee. But I'm standing here right now with Victoria, who is the director of education and interpretation right here, and also Emily in curation. So we just have a couple questions, if that's all right for you all. Thank you for taking this interview with OnyxThought and everything. We truly appreciate it. So I want to ask you this. Can you tell us a little about the history of enslavement in Belmead and its relation to the Nashville area? And how did it differ from other farms and plantations?
Yeah, so the Harding-Jackson family is very unique. It's not the typical southern plantation you would think of. They didn't grow cash crops, they didn't grow tobacco or indigo. They were actually a thoroughbred stud farm. They were one of the largest thoroughbred stud farms in the nation, so they obviously needed a lot of enslaved individuals to help make it so prominent. So at the height of the records that we have available to us, they have 136 enslaved men, women, and children on the property, although we estimate it's probably more than that. It's probably closer to 200, 250, because besides the stud farm, they also had a grist mill, they had a dairy operation, they had lots of other side businesses that need labor. So this was the top 4% slave-owning family in the nation, I believe, and definitely in the 1% in Tennessee. So they were a very influential family that kept a lot of individuals enslaved here. And the type of labor they did was very different too. So you had lots of what we would call skilled labor. So you had blacksmiths, you had grooms, you had jockeys, you had hostlers. So you had these men, women, and children, lots of women inside the home doing domestic work as they're entertaining presidents, they're entertaining the Vanderbilts, the Carnegies. So all of these individuals are learning these skills, which make them essentially more valuable in the market and to the family. So it's just a very different environment here than kind of what you would think of maybe like a cotton plantation in Arkansas or something like that.
What inspired the renovation of the cabin, reinvigorating it?
So it has been probably 25 years or so since this cabin was originally brought to the property and the original exhibit inside was done. And over the years things kind of start to wear down, and we've learned so much more new information in the last year or so, and it was really just time to get new, fresh information up. Everything that was here is still here. We didn't take anything out, we just added a lot to it as well. And we feel a lot of responsibility here to actually tell the stories and accurately truthfully describe things. So that was
I'll add something too that's kind of different than you might see. So a lot of our archival materials, our census data records, our photographs, all of these kind of data points that researchers use that are usually kept behind a closed door, we're actually putting a lot of those in the cabin for people to go through in our digital display screen. So kind of these documents that you would never really see are being brought to the forefront, which is pretty cool too.
Great, making it accessible to the public.
Yeah, certainly.
What was the process of designing the exhibit?
oh my goodness, it's a very long one. So it started with just going through our records and what we had available to us. We got in contact with a lot of descendant families. Well, actually, they got in contact with us. They found us, reached out, wanted to share their family stories. Some of them are with us today as well. So we had living descendants who were able to participate in this project, and we just got it all written down and organized as well as we possibly could. And it's an overwhelming amount of information sometimes, and we did our best to make it digestible.
So would you both say that you still have a lot more information that's being brought forth to the forefront?
Definitely. I think we're always discovering new things, especially the more and more contact we get with descendants, the more that they're able to share with us. And then we have just such a plethora of information here that we're constantly adding more and more to it. And definitely if anyone's able to walk in and recognize a name, recognize someone in a photo, we have the ability to update the exhibit and identify people. So that's pretty cool that it can change in real time as we learn and grow more.
All right. Thank you both for taking this. Are there any last words you would have for anybody out there?
We just come and see it. I think it's really important that this information is shared, especially in a time when a lot of people try and silence these voices. And I think something that's really important to remember is that these aren't these stagnant past historical figures, but these were real people who lived here, who labored here, who loved here, who had families. And it's just really important to humanize these people because these are someone's family members. This is someone's grandparents, great-grandparents. And I think it's just really important to kind of center humanity when we think about this sort of history as well.
All right, thank you all so much.
Thank you for having us.
Everybody. So I'm here with Casey. He is the Assistant Director of Interpretation right here at Belle Meade, of Historical Interpretation. So I'm here to ask you this question. You know, seeing that you are Assistant Director of Interpretation, what does, enslavement in the lives of those that were enslaved here, such as I read Moses Harding, what was their relation to the Civil War and bringing about freedom for themselves?
Absolutely. Well, so many people were here in Nashville part of the occupation of our city. The federal armies under Ulysses S. Grant and Don Carlos Buell occupied Nashville in very early 1862. And this process was started to conscript the enslaved from this area to build fortifications in downtown Nashville. So there's estimates that 3,000 potentially enslaved were taken from the Middle Tennessee area to build these massive fortifications in downtown. Varying sources at Belle Meade, some sources say 12, some say as many as 30 plus actually left this property to labor on these fortifications. There are a few names, Moses Harding being one of them. So Moses Harding, we know, was one of the enslaved who left this property. He did 4 months of hard labor in downtown Nashville. Now he was promised $10 per month for the labor that he is doing. In actuality, he receives $28 in total, and most enslaved were not paid their full amounts that they were promised. Now the key thing here, out of those 3,000 that went to Nashville, it's estimated that 600 to 800 of them actually passed away in the process. That is due to the labor environments and just the elements as well. I mean, we're talking about February, March, in Tennessee, it's cold winter. But Moses did survive with his life. And he would later, in 1863, join the United States Army, what was then called the United States Colored Troops, or USCT. So these were the men who joined the Union ranks, but were not considered equal to the white soldiers. USCT could not have commissioned black officers. They could only have non-commissioned officers. And so we know that Moses did a lot of garrison duty throughout Tennessee and Kentucky, especially during the Franklin-Nashville campaign, where John Bell Hood and his Confederate Army are trying to regain the city of Nashville. And so we know Moses was promoted to sergeant. And a lot of people think that's not a big deal. But sergeants and non-commissioned officers today, as we say, we are the backbone of the Army. And so Moses would have been part of that backbone. He's potentially in charge of a squad of soldiers, maybe 16 individual men in uniform. So it was a very big deal. And I think the USCT have left this very incredible record on the military service. And many USCT would take part in the fighting during the Battle of Nashville in 1864. So I think there is a large legacy there that Moses was part of. Now, he does come out of the service in 1866. He is discharged honorably. He is granted his freedom at the end of the Civil War. And he becomes a very successful stonemason in Nashville. I think having learned that while he is building those fortifications. And we know, interestingly, that Moses changes his last name to Grant, which was his father's first name. So there is this kind of, removal from using that slave name, if you will, that Harding name, and seeking out his own legacy and story from his father.
Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you would want to tell everybody before we close this out?
I would just remind people that when you come to a Civil War battlefield like we have here in Nashville, like we have here at Belmead, don't lose sight of those black soldiers, sometimes even women who were acting as laundresses and cooks and even nurses for the federal armies. Don't lose sight of their contribution to the war effort as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Ben, for having me.